Alright, good morning. It's a beautiful day today. So right now I'm on my new bike, the Honda CB650R. Got this bike around 3 weeks ago, still breaking in, so the mileage is still under 1,000 kilometers, so I can't really push this thing now. But so far, I'll tell you what I feel about this bike. I love the way it looks. That's part of the big reason I bought this bike. It's a neo cafe racer look. I wanted a bike to keep for a few years, to do mostly commuting to work, but I want it to be a cool bike as well, and enjoy it on weekends. So I needed to ride well. Ride well as in good handling, sporty, has options for sporty tires. So basically I narrowed down to a few bikes, being Yamaha MT-09, Kawasaki Z900, this bike, and a Triumph Street Triple S. And you may be wondering, what's this bike doing in that category? It's actually in a lower category, so to speak. Price wise in Malaysia, it's similar. It's actually, if you add just a little bit more, you could get an MT-09 or Z900 instead. But I love the way it looks. I wanted a bike that looks a bit classic and, let's say, timeless, because I want to keep it for a few years. Although being a 650 inline 4, it has that sweeping manifold pipes out of the engine is really good looking. So that's about looks, and comes with digital screen, ABS, traction control. I'm not so bothered about, but it comes with traction control, so why not? This bike right now is bone stock. I bought a lot of accessories for it, but which I haven't fitted on, like the windscreen, tail tidy, side mirrors. These side mirrors are pretty nerdy. You could have cooler side mirrors. I wanted the round side mirrors, so it goes well with the round headlights. It matches in a way. This bike actually replaces my Suzuki GSX-R 600. That bike was fully loaded, had a Krapovich full system on, and it was a beast and high revs up to like 16,000 RPM. That bike was around 110 horsepower, something around there. This one only produces 93 max and has a lower red line. So is it a downgrade? To me, I didn't like the GSX-R 600. No grunt at the low end. I just need a little bit of oomph in the low end. I just don't like to make the bike scream all the time. That's not my riding style, I guess. I prefer to just chill, take it easy, and occasionally I'll rev the shit out of it. Occasionally. Right now it's still very quiet because it's stock, and the pipes are, being Honda, they're quiet pipes. The engine is so smooth. I don't know how to explain to you how smooth the engine is, but it's one of the smoothest engines and gearboxes ever. I know I've been riding Ducati Monster for around half a year before I got this bike, and that thing is all about character and the rough clutch, but this bike is just smooth on a different level. It is so responsive, and it just likes to rev. Oh, that's quite smelly. The clutch is very light. It's perfect for town use. You could do the quick shifter, or I don't think I'll bother with it because this is a town bike, and I do clutchless shifts a lot. But for a 4-cylinder 650cc engine, you'd expect the low end to be non-existent. You expect it to have a lot of top end and very little low end. But this bike surprisingly has plenty of bottom end. Well, not Ducati Monster plenty, but more, definitely a lot more than I thought. Let me show you. I'm on third. I should have any power around 4,000 RPM. See this? I don't need to change gear. yeah, and that's not full throttle, by the way. It's just demonstrating you guys that there is a little bit of power. I don't full throttle this bike yet because it's still breaking in. The gearing for this bike, for me, I think it's a bit short. So, or maybe I haven't really learned how to ride the bike, but I feel like it's a bit short, and I keep short shifting it. That could be the recipe to, you know, having low end grunt for a 4-cylinder 650. Let's talk back about the engine. And produces around 93 horsepower and torque, I think about 60 something Newton meters, and that's not a lot in terms of number. If what I use this bike for mostly, which is commute to work, it's perfect. Actually more than what I need. It's mostly town riding with a bit of you know, weekend riding. Maybe it's good for me that I don't get 1,000 cc's on this, because I don't have the quickest of reflexes, and sometimes it's good to not be able to compete with some of the big boys. You can get a bit dangerous. The heat it produces, well, it produces some sort of heat at once the engine is spooled up at around the ankles, but other than that, it not much heat. It comes with Showa front fork, non adjustable separate function forks, monoshock at the rear with only adjustable preload. It's probably the most comfortable bike I've ever owned. Damn, it's a really hot day. Fuel consumption wise, I think I'm getting around 15 to 20 kilometers to the liter. Guys, pause! Ah! Let's see how she rides. Let's get through this bit first. Here's where we're gonna test the bike in the corners and see how she handles. We just have to catch up with the rest of the gang, wherever they are. There they are. Oh, what are these guys doing? Streamlining, goddamn. It's so smooth, and buttery is a word that I would use to describe this engine. However, you get around like 6,000 revs, it gets a bit buzzy. That's a weird thing. I guess that's the character of this engine on its own, that it is a bit buzzy around 6,000 RPMs and above, but it's not anything that you can't cope with. What I feel that this engine is that it likes to cruise and it likes to chill. It's not like a Gixxer where it pushes you to rev more and more. No, this one likes to be in 6, and it has some pull at 6. I can't demonstrate it right now because there's a truck in front of me. Handling wise, I think this bike is pretty solid, and you know, it's pretty sporty and accurate. You just point it where you want it to go and it just goes. The front is set up for both town and sports riding, I believe, because it is not soft, but in town it is not hard. So I guess you're getting the best of both worlds for this bike. And when with the kind of riding that I do, which is mostly town, I do sporty riding sometimes, and I like to enjoy the corners. It is enjoyable at both sides, but it is not a firm suspension. Sorry, truck. It is not a firm suspension whereby you'll be, oh man, in town, oh my back, oh my ass, it hurts. This on its own is actually pretty cool to see that corner. Oh, that is nice. That was satisfying. I love corners. Oh, I just enjoyed this for a bit. Oh man, I'm not pushing the bike. I could be. On 5th, just a little bit more, I can see the revs climb, and this is uphill. I mean, it doesn't climb tremendously fast, but there is a little bit more ground. I could downshift if I wanted to, but I'm lazy. Like I said, this bike likes to cruise. It likes to chill. The back suspension, however, is I think it's a little bit softer than I'd like it to be, but that could be because it's not set up for me. So I am a little bit heavier than the average male out there, especially in Asia. So I think it is set up for a lighter person, but nonetheless, it's not bad. The seating position, it's upright. It's a naked bike, but you could say it's sporty, and you're not going to have any clearance issues. So I think the riding position is really good. I think the seats on this are a bit firm for my liking, and I could be complaining if I was doing a ride for like an hour or two. The handlebar position is upright, but it's a little bit sporty, so you have to bend a little bit forward. You know, it gives you that a little bit slightly sportier feeling compared to a normal naked bike where you sit upright. If you want to go in, it still feels a little bit sporty. So I guess it's a good balance for both. Good job, Honda, on that. The cluster, the HUD, I hear complaints that it is a bit harder to see, especially with sunlight against the screen. Kawasaki makes better screens than this. They're very functional and very, very effective in terms of what you see on the screen. But for me, I can see good enough. I can see the revs, I can see what gear I'm in, what speed I'm doing, and what time it is. I don't know if you can see this, I'm just guessing you can see this. So what I have displayed on right now is the fuel consumption average and the total mileage, the temperature gauge, speed in kilometers per hour. You can change to miles per hour. So a rev meter, RPM, what RPM I'm doing is all digital. A fuel gauge. I'm really appreciating this bike to have a fuel gauge, because I'm used to riding a Ducati Monster which doesn't have a fuel gauge. When the fuel is low, there's a yellow light that comes on. That's how you know. Behind here, where I think the passing light should be, is a traction control toggle. So if I turn this off on the go, I can do it on the go. You can see the traction control is turned off, but there's a light there. And press that in, and that means it's turned on. There's no light there. So you can do that on the go, and I'll leave it on because it's a new bike, and I don't really know the character of this bike that well yet. Other than that, you have clutch lever is not adjustable, but it's really light. So I like the clutch feel. It's nice for town use, and you can just hold it in for a long time at traffic lights if you need to. Usually I shift to neutral, but if you really want to hold in the clutch at the traffic light, and it's you can do that, and it's cable actuated. On the right here, what I have, you see this is the brake reservoir. It's actually quite big. Typical Honda, well made. It's not plastic, it's metal. The brake lever is adjustable. You can adjust the level. I've set it to my liking here. Now let's talk about the brakes. This bike comes with 310mm disc brakes with radial Nissin calipers on the front. That gives really good feel so far, and plenty of braking power, I think. The rear is a single disc, and there's a Nissin as well, and both are connected with rubber hoses. But so far the rubber hoses are just fine. I haven't had any complaints, or you know, from the lack of feel or whatever, but I think so far it's doing fine. Maybe perhaps later I could change them over to braided steel hose. There's enough brake feel. Of course it comes with ABS as standard, and you can't turn off the ABS. I just have to get used to it. And I've never had the ABS kick in on a dry road yet. Maybe at a parking lot on a slippery surface, yeah. But I've never braked so hard that the ABS starts to kick in. It just hasn't happened to me yet. The brake feel is nice and there's quite a lot of braking power. At this price point, you're getting quite a lot of features. I think this bike is pretty good value. Oh man, love this bike. Actually has more grunt than I thought it would have. But before I picked up this bike, I actually anticipated that I'm gonna regret it for not getting an MT-09 or Z900, because you know it's not gonna have enough grunt and it's gonna be a downgrade. But because you know I ride a Ducati Monster for a few months and this is gonna feel like a lemon, but so far this has been an impressive machine. I'm loving it. There's plenty of low end grunt, there's plenty of noise, plenty of brakes, suspension's awesome. What a wonderful bike, Honda, good job. I don't know whether this matters to you, but you know, if you buy something nice, like a nice bike, and you spend quite a bit of money on it, you want it to come with the flashy bits. Like here it says Showa, and you know the front comes with radial brakes. Probably could do with some axial brakes, it could just be fine, but they fitted some radial brakes there. Comes with traction control, ABS. It doesn't need traction control. I think this bike is 650, but I don't know, who knows, they know better. Comes with a color screen. It's very cool. A bit about the controls that I don't like. I don't like the fact that the horn is up here and the signal is down there. I prefer it the other way around, because I think most bikes are set up that way. So you have the indicator here, you have the horn down there. What a beautiful day. From the shop, this bike comes with Metzeler Z9s, I believe. It's a touring compound. So far it's actually been pretty good. Although I do miss the feeling and the grip, the feedback you get from the S22, but of course that's a very premium tire. Initially I thought, you know, when I got the bike, and one of the things I have to change is the tire, but so far it's holding up fine, so not much motivation for me to change the tires. Man, it's a lovely day. Oh, it doesn't smell so good here though. Ooh, smells like manure. So we're heading up Genting Highlands, and there's gonna be some really lovely twisties up there. Hopefully there's not gonna be too many cars up holding us back, so we can enjoy the corners and get a little bit more feel on the bike. Talk about engine braking. This bike has engine braking, but I need to be able to predict the engine braking is gonna give me. In front of me are Triumph Street Triple R 675 and Daytona 675 as well, and there's a 765 behind me coming its way. Traffic. Yeah. Okay, but this is not the twisty bits. We can try to skip past the lorry. Let's get past the lorry, man. Come on, this is the corner. Fuck, no, come on. was a nice sprint up the hill. Oh, the weather's lovely. Alright, we have reached the entrance to Commuting Highlands. That was good. You can actually feel the bike shifting back and forth in terms of the weight, but I feel like it doesn't do continuous corners as well, so it's not like as flickable as I'd like it to be. You have to let go of the throttle and adjust for the next corner in between, rather than, you just sweep through the corners. Maybe it's the tires, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a bit of a heavier bike, being around 190 to 200 kilograms. Such a relaxing bike. It's so nice to ride fast. It's nice to ride slow. Doesn't deal so well with the wind, but that is, the true nature of a naked bike. You can't blame the bike for that. Could get the CB650R if you wanted to go a bit faster and hit top speeds, but that's not so good for me, because I don't really wanna go past 200, where if anything were to happen, it would be very dire. The cornering is very linear. I feel that you have a linear control of how much the bike leans, and you can kind of feel what it's doing and adjust it mid-corner. Let's wait for some friends back there waiting for the two Triumphs. Let's say you're doing some spirited riding and you're in the wrong gear, you chop the throttle and it jerks and jolts. So there they are. Alright, let's hit the highway and see what it's like. So far it's handling the little strips on the road very well. I can tell that very well because my bladder is kind of full and it doesn't agitate my bladder that much. See these yellow strips on a bike with firmer suspension, you'd be bouncing around, and on this actually feels good and planted. It gives you confidence that you have grip on the bike and it's not gonna bounce off and lose traction. That triple sounds good. Man, I could chill on this bike all day. Such an easy bike to ride. Anyone can ride it. You feel instantly connected to it. Everything is at the right place. You look into the mirror and you can see what's behind you. Oh yeah, here's where you feel the wind. Around 120. That's because I've got no fairing in between here. But still the bike feels planted. Because I'm sitting more on the bike than in the bike, that it feels like it's trying to push me off. You can see here I'm just cruising on 6, around 130 km/h, and it's at around 6,000 RPM. There's not much vibration at this rev range, so you can kind of cruise this bike in comfort, with the exception of the wind. But this is a naked bike. You could cruise on this bike for a long time. Ah, there they are. All right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of wind. So how do I feel about the bike? Excellent. If I were to give it a score, I'd give it 9 out of 10. For what it is, what it can do, what I expected, it definitely exceeded my expectations. We've reached KL. Thank you for joining me on this ride. There'll be more rides, and once I break in the bike and send it for the first service, we'll see what it's like to ride this thing properly. And I heard, I don't know, this is what all the reviews say, this bike only comes alive above 8,000 RPM. So I'm really looking forward to that. So far, I love it. No regrets whatsoever. It's so good. Woo! Scared the birds there. No birds were harmed. Thank you.